My daughter wanted her mom's lover at her wedding. When I refused, she said, "I guess you give me no other option than to cancel your invitation." I didn't argue. What happened next shocked everyone. I sat there in my kitchen in Denver, Colorado, holding that phone, listening to the dial tone after Claire hung up on me. For a moment, I felt like someone had just punched me in the gut. But then something shifted. 23 years as a commercial real estate attorney teaches you to think strategically, even when your world is collapsing. Here's what you need to understand about my situation. When my ex-wife Linda left me for Kevin 3 years ago, in March 2020, she didn't just take half our assets. She took our daughter's respect with her. Kevin wasn't some random guy. He was my former business partner at Peterson & Associates, the man I'd trusted with my client list and my family dinners for 8 years. The betrayal cut deep, but what really stung was watching Claire embrace him like he was some harmless family friend instead of the man who helped destroy our marriage. Now, Claire was getting married in September 2023, and Kevin was hosting the reception, not contributing, hosting. Like he was the patriarch of our family. The invitation made it crystal clear this wasn't an oversight. This was a deliberate erasure. But here's where my legal training kicked in. I realized I had two choices. I could either show up and smile through the humiliation, or I could make a strategic decision that would force everyone to face the real consequences of their choices. I chose strategy. Let me explain how I got here financially. My law practice specializes in commercial property disputes, bringing in roughly $340,000 annually. I own my house outright, a $450,000 property in the Cherry Creek area. I've got $280,000 in retirement accounts, $85,000 in savings, and a small investment property in Boulder worth $180,000. Total net worth approximately $1.3 million. More importantly, I've been financially supporting Claire since her college graduation from University of Colorado in May 2021. Her marketing coordinator job at a downtown advertising firm pays $38,000 annually, barely enough to cover her $1,100 monthly rent in the Capitol Hill neighborhood. I've been supplementing her income with $1,800 monthly, plus I paid for her car, a $23,000 Honda Civic, her health insurance at $240 monthly, and covered wedding expenses I'd already committed to totaling $12,000 for photography and flowers. The wedding itself was costing me $18,000 total, money I'd already transferred to various vendors over the past 6 months. Kevin and Linda were handling the venue and catering at the Denver Botanic Gardens, making sure everyone knew they were the real hosts while I quietly funded the background expenses like a silent partner. But here's what Claire didn't calculate. I wasn't just her father. I was her primary financial support system, and she just told me I wasn't welcome at the most important day of her life. I spent that entire Tuesday night doing what I do best, analyzing contracts and calculating consequences. I opened my laptop and created a spreadsheet titled Claire Financial Analysis. Every monthly payment, every covered expense, every financial commitment I'd made to support her adult life since graduation. The number was staggering. $47,400 annually in direct support, plus another $8,000 in miscellaneous help, like car repairs, medical co-pays, and those emergency loans she never quite paid back. The next morning, Wednesday, I called my assistant Jennifer at 8 a.m. sharp. "Cancel everything related to Claire's wedding," I told her. "All vendor contracts, all payments, everything that hasn't already been delivered." "Sir, are you sure? The wedding is in 6 days." "I'm absolutely sure, and send me a complete accounting of every payment we've made on Claire's behalf in the past 2 years. I want dates, amounts, and purposes." Jennifer had been with my firm for 8 years. She knew better than to question my tone when I used it. Within 2 hours, I had a comprehensive financial report that would make any forensic accountant proud. The wedding vendors I was able to cancel saved me $4,200. The photography and flowers were non-refundable since they were scheduled for delivery Saturday morning, but that was a small price to pay for what came next. I called my financial advisor, David Morrison, at Wells Fargo Private Banking that Wednesday afternoon. "David, I need you to set up a separate investment account and transfer all the money I've been using for Claire's monthly support. From now on, that $1,800 monthly goes into growth investments instead." "Tom, what's going on?" My daughter just uninvited me from her wedding because I won't sit next to the man who destroyed my marriage. I'm done subsidizing people who don't value my presence in their lives." David was quiet for a moment. "You know what? Good for you. That money will compound nicely over time instead of disappearing into someone else's lifestyle." Next, I called my insurance agent at State Farm. Claire's health coverage through my policy costs $240 monthly. "Remove Claire from my health insurance effective immediately," I told him. "She's an adult who just made it clear she doesn't consider me essential family." The agent tried to talk me out of it. "Tom, health insurance is expensive on the individual market. She'll be paying $450, $500 monthly for similar coverage." That's her problem now, not mine. But the strategic masterstroke was what I did with her car. See, Claire's Honda was financed through my credit union, Belco Credit Union, with me as the primary borrower and her as an authorized user. The loan had 18 months remaining at $387 monthly. Technically, legally, it was my car that I'd allowed her to use. I drove to the Belco branch on Thursday afternoon and spoke with my loan officer, Patricia Chen. "Patricia, I need to understand my options regarding the Honda loan for my daughter." She pulled up the account on her computer screen. "You're the primary borrower, so legally it's your vehicle. Your daughter has no legal ownership until the loan is satisfied, and you sign over the title. What if I want to terminate her access to the vehicle?" Patricia looked uncomfortable. "Well, you could report it as unauthorized use, but that seems extreme for a family situation. What if I simply took possession of the vehicle and gave her the option to take over payments by refinancing in her own name?" "That's completely within your rights. The loan would need to be satisfied first, which would require her to qualify for financing on her own." I smiled. On a $38,000 annual salary with $65,000 in student loans already on her credit report, Patricia winced. "That would be challenging." That Thursday evening at PM, I texted Claire from my home office. "Since you've made it clear I'm not essential family, I need to make some practical adjustments. Your car loan is in my name. I'll need you to refinance it in your name by next Friday, or I'll need to take possession of the vehicle. Your health insurance through my policy also ends this month. Hope the wedding is everything you dreamed of." My phone rang within 10 minutes. It was Claire, screaming. "Dad, what are you doing? You can't just take my car." "It's not your car, Claire. It's my car that you've been using. Check the title." "This is insane. You're punishing me because I won't let you ruin my wedding with your drama." "I'm not punishing anyone. I'm simply adjusting my financial commitments to match the level of family relationship you've defined for us. You've made it clear that Kevin is your priority, so perhaps he can help you with financing." "Kevin isn't going to buy me a car." "Then I guess you'll need to figure out public transportation. Or maybe ask your mother for help. She's been making it very clear how well Kevin provides for you both." The call ended with her hanging up on me again. But this time, I was smiling. Friday morning at AM, I received a panicked call from Linda at my office. "Tom, you need to stop this nonsense. Claire is hysterical. You're ruining her wedding week." "I'm not ruining anything, Linda. I'm simply responding to the reality that your daughter doesn't want me in her life. I'm giving her exactly what she asked for, my absence, along with my financial support. You know she can't afford that car payment on her own." "That's interesting. 3 years ago, you told me Kevin was more financially stable than I was. Maybe he can co-sign for her." Linda's voice got sharp. "Kevin's not going to take on someone else's debt." "But I'm supposed to? For someone who doesn't want me at her wedding?" "That's different. You're her father." "And yet, apparently, I'm not family enough to deserve a seat at her wedding. You can't have it both ways, Linda. Either I'm her father with all the responsibilities and respect that entails, or I'm just some guy who used to be married to you." Claire made that choice for me. Saturday, September 16th came and went. The wedding happened without me at the Denver Botanic Gardens. I spent the day playing golf at Cherry Hills Country Club and had dinner at my favorite steakhouse, the Capitol Grill. Sunday morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and 12 voicemails on my phone. The first voicemail was from Claire, sobbing. "Dad, please call me back. The vendors canceled everything. The flowers never showed up. The photographer didn't come. Everyone is asking where you are. Please, I need to talk to you." I deleted it without a second thought. The next 3 were from Linda, getting progressively more angry. By the fourth message, she was screaming about how I'd sabotaged the wedding and traumatized Claire. I made myself coffee and deleted those too. But the fifth message was interesting. It was from Kevin himself. Tom, this is Kevin. Look, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Claire is really upset, and Linda is well. She's not handling this well. I think we need to talk man to man and work this out. I never wanted to cause problems between you and Claire. Call me back. I listened to that message 3 times. The desperation in his voice was fascinating. Here was the man who'd been playing patriarch, suddenly realizing that patriarchs actually have financial responsibilities they can't just walk away from. I didn't call him back. Monday morning brought a visit from Claire to my law office downtown. She showed up at a.m., red-eyed and furious. My assistant buzzed me. "Mr. Peterson, your daughter is here. She says it's urgent." "Send her in." Claire walked into my office looking like she'd been crying for 2 days straight. "Dad, we need to fix this." "Fix what exactly?" "Don't play dumb. You sabotaged my wedding. The vendors didn't show up because you canceled them." I leaned back in my chair. "I canceled vendors that I was paying for. Since you made it clear I wasn't welcome at the event, it seemed reasonable to assume you didn't want my financial contribution either." That's not what I meant." "Then perhaps you should have been more precise with your communication. I'm a lawyer, Claire. Words matter." She started crying again. "Everyone kept asking where you were. Mom had to lie and say you were sick. It was humiliating." "More humiliating than being uninvited to your own daughter's wedding? You could have just sucked it up for one day." And there it was, the fundamental misunderstanding that would define our relationship going forward. "Claire, let me explain something to you. I've spent the last 2 years providing you with $55,000 annually in financial support. I've covered your rent, your car, your insurance, your emergencies, your lifestyle. In return, I had one request. Don't force me to celebrate alongside the man who betrayed me. You chose to prioritize his comfort over mine. That's your right, but it's also my right to prioritize my self-respect over your financial needs." "Dad, I can't afford the car payments." "Then you should have thought of that before you decided Kevin's feelings were more important than mine. Can't we just pretend this fight never happened?" I opened my desk drawer and pulled out a folder. Inside was the complete financial analysis Jennifer had prepared, showing every payment I'd made on Claire's behalf. "This is what I spent supporting you last year alone: $47,400 in direct payments, plus another $8,000 in miscellaneous support. That's $55,400 total. This year, I've already spent $30,200 through August. Would you like to see the breakdown?" She looked at the papers like they were written in a foreign language. I didn't realize it was so much." "Of course you didn't. You never had to think about it because I just handled everything quietly. But now you've made it clear that my presence in your life is conditional. I'm welcome as a checkbook, but not as a father who deserves respect. I'm choosing to reverse those conditions. You're welcome in my life as a daughter, but not as a financial dependent who doesn't value what I provide." Claire was quiet for a long time. Finally, she asked, "What do you want me to do?" "Figure out how to be an adult. You're 24 years old with a college degree. You should be capable of supporting yourself without your father subsidizing your lifestyle." "But I can't afford everything without your help." "Then perhaps you need to make different choices about how you live. Move somewhere cheaper, find a better job. Ask your mother and Kevin for support, since you value their approval more than mine." She left my office crying, but I felt nothing but relief. For the first time in years, I felt like I was responding with my brain instead of my emotions. 2 weeks later, on October 2nd, Kevin called me directly at my office. "Tom, we need to talk." "No, we really don't. Claire's struggling. She had to move back in with Linda and me because she can't afford her apartment without your help." I almost laughed. "Let me understand this correctly. You're calling to tell me that my financial absence is creating problems for you?" "She's family, Tom. Your family and Linda's family. We're all just trying to help her." "Kevin, you've been playing house with my ex-wife for 3 years. You've been positioning yourself as the stable father figure, the reliable provider, the man who had everything I apparently lacked. Now you have the opportunity to prove it. Step up." I can't afford to support Claire long term. I have my own kids to think about. And there it was, the truth. Kevin was happy to play patriarch when it was all ceremony and no responsibility. But actual financial obligation? That was still somehow my job. Kevin, for 3 years I've watched you enjoy the benefits of my family while contributing nothing but disruption. You got the wife, you got the stepdaughter's affection, you got to host the wedding reception, but you never got the bills. Well, congratulations. Now you get the complete package. Tom, be reasonable. I am being reasonable. I'm being perfectly reasonable. You wanted my family? You got them. All the responsibilities included. I hung up and immediately called David Morrison. David, remember that monthly investment we set up with Claire's support money? I want to increase it. Add the $240 I was spending on her health insurance and another $387 from her car payment. Make it $2,427 monthly going into growth investments. Tom, that's over $29,000 annually you're now investing instead of spending on support. Exactly. And compound that over the next 20 years. What do you project? David ran the numbers on his computer. Conservative growth estimates, you're looking at an additional $800,000, $900,000 in retirement assets by the time you're 65. That's substantial wealth building. 3 months later, in January 2024, I got a call from Linda. Claire had moved back out of their house and was living in a studio apartment in the Five Points neighborhood. She'd found a second job waitressing nights and weekends at a local restaurant. The car had been repossessed after she missed 2 payments in November and December. She's working 60 hours a week just to survive, Linda told me over the phone. This is cruel, Tom. This is consequences, Linda. For 24 years, I protected Claire from experiencing the real cost of her choices. I made everything easy for her, but adults need to understand that their decisions have financial implications. She's learned her lesson. Can't you just help her get back on her feet? Has she learned her lesson? Because learning the lesson would involve calling me and apologizing for prioritizing Kevin over the father who'd supported her for 2 decades. It would involve acknowledging that financial support and family loyalty are connected. Has that happened? Linda was quiet. I thought not. See, Linda, you and Kevin and Claire all made the same mistake. You assumed my love was unconditional, so you could treat me however you wanted, and I'd still be there with my checkbook open. But love and financial support are 2 different things. I loved Claire enough to let her figure out how to be a responsible adult. I loved her too much to keep enabling her. The conversation that changed everything happened 6 months after the wedding. Claire called me on a Tuesday evening in February 2024. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Dad, her voice was small, tired. Hello, Claire. I wanted you to know that Kevin and Mom broke up. He moved out last week. I felt a flicker of something. Not satisfaction exactly, but vindication. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? I thought about it honestly. I'm sorry you're dealing with more upheaval. I'm not sorry that your mother is experiencing the consequences of choosing an unreliable partner. He said he couldn't handle the financial pressure. Mom's been struggling since she had to start helping me, and he didn't want to take on our problems. That's unfortunate. Dad, I think I understand now what you were trying to tell me. What's that? Kevin was never really family. He was just convenient. When things got hard, he left. But you're still my dad, even when I'm awful to you. I sat down heavily in my kitchen chair. Claire, I need you to understand something. I didn't cut you off to punish you. I cut you off because you needed to learn that relationships require mutual respect. You can't keep someone in your life just for their financial contributions while excluding them from the parts that matter to you. I know that now. I've been working 2 jobs for months, and it's awful. But I also feel more grown up than I ever have. Like I can actually take care of myself. That's good, Claire. That's really good. I was wondering, would you maybe want to have dinner sometime? Nothing fancy, maybe just pizza at my place. I could show you my apartment. It's tiny, but it's mine. I looked around my empty kitchen at the photo of Claire and me from her high school graduation that I'd never taken down and made a decision. I'd like that very much. Really? Really. But Claire, we need to establish some ground rules. I'm not resuming financial support. You're doing well learning to support yourself, and I'm not going to interfere with that growth, but I'd like to be your father again, not your ATM. I understand. Actually, I prefer it this way. It's hard, but it's honest. We had dinner the following Saturday evening at her studio apartment in 5 Points. Her place was indeed tiny, maybe 400 square feet, but she'd made it cozy with secondhand furniture and plants. She cooked spaghetti and told me about her jobs, her budget, her plans to eventually find something better than waitressing. I never realized how much money you were spending on me, she said over dinner. When I had to take over everything myself, it was shocking how much it all cost. Most young adults figure that out gradually, I told her. I kept you from learning those lessons because I wanted to make your life easier, but easier isn't always better. Are you happier now, without having to support me? I thought about it honestly. My monthly investment contributions had been growing steadily. My stress levels had dropped considerably. I'd even started dating someone new, a fellow attorney named Sarah who appreciated my boundaries. Yes, actually, I am. I love you just as much, but I like our relationship better when it's not based on financial dependency. I'm sorry about the wedding, Dad. I was trying to keep everyone happy, and I ended up hurting the person who mattered most. Thank you for saying that. That means a lot to me. We didn't hug it out and pretend everything was perfect. But for the first time in 4 years, we had an honest conversation where she saw me as a person, not just as a source of financial support. A year later, in March 2025, Claire got promoted to a marketing specialist position with a $15,000 raise, bringing her salary to $53,000 annually. She calls me every few weeks, and we have dinner once a month. She's dating someone new, a teacher named Marcus, who makes about what she makes and understands budgeting. Last month, she told me she's been saving money for a car. Nothing fancy, just something reliable. I should have enough for a down payment by Christmas. That's fantastic, Claire. You should be proud of what you've accomplished. I am, actually. It's weird. I'm working harder than I ever have, but I feel better about myself than when you were just covering everything for me. Linda, meanwhile, has moved to a smaller apartment in Aurora and picked up a part-time job at a medical clinic to make ends meet. Kevin's financial contributions turned out to be less substantial than anyone had realized. Turns out that hosting a wedding reception is a lot easier than actually supporting a family. As for Kevin, he moved back to his previous apartment and has had minimal contact with any of us since the breakup. His own children from his first marriage have maintained their distance, and he's essentially alone now. The total financial impact of my decision has been significant. Over the past 18 months, I've invested $43,186 instead of spending it on Claire's support. David projects that money will grow to approximately $190,000 by the time I retire. More importantly, Claire has developed genuine life skills and self-respect. My relationship with Claire now is different than it was before, but it's also more honest. She values our time together because she's not dependent on me for survival. I value her company because she's choosing to spend time with me, not because she needs something from me. The lesson here isn't that you should cut off your kids financially. The lesson is that financial support without mutual respect creates unhealthy relationships. When people take your generosity for granted while excluding you from what matters to them, you're not helping them. You're enabling them to avoid growing up. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let people experience the natural consequences of their choices. Claire learned more about responsibility and family loyalty in 18 months of struggling than she had in 24 years of having everything handled for her. Today, when Claire calls me, it's because she wants to talk to her father, not because she needs money, and that makes all the difference in the world.